Hey, what's up, dudes? Alright, it's another day. We're gonna do this. Game testing and debugging / review part 4. Today's the 6th. My back's still in bad shape. It's kind of better. Like, it's better. Well, obviously it's healing, so that's good. I can tell that it's healing, but it does hurt a little bit worse today, but that's because I didn't take any pain medicine yesterday. I had enough built up in my system to where it kind of had to be numbed for basically half that day, but it's kind of worn off, so today I'm hurting a little bit, but I don't really want to take it anymore. I don't feel like I really need it. It's it is distracting, and I didn't sleep the best because of the pain, but I'll be alright. Anyway, so this is part 4, game testing, 1248. So we began running, well, this should say continued. And really this, we'll just say, this is going to turn into, well, we can leave it as that. Running. Well, how about this? We'll leave the main title with testing, debugging, review, but the specific we'll just say debugging and reviewing. There we go. Alright, so we stopped at 465 in client. We just continued going through the client file to get it nice and cleaned up before we spam our client runs. And no, we don't do any talking like that. Yeah, this one's gotta go. Where does this come from anyway? Is this even my playlist? What is this? This isn't even my playlist, that's why. Dumbass. Alright, there we go. Okay. Yeah, so we just continue going through client. I actually did a little bit of work off stream yesterday, which I don't usually do that, but yesterday I did, just because, why not? Do we need to reset our extensions? I don't know, we're gonna find out. Let's see if our audio is working here. Yep, audio is working. It's so loud. Alright. I feel like something just bit me. Alright. We're good to go now. Extensions are good. Alright, so we're going to continue where we left off yesterday in client. I should say continued. So let's do that. So we actually, since we were working off stream, what line did we say we stopped at? Let's see. 465. So that would be right here. And looks like, yeah, we actually went past that off stream. At least I think I did. No, maybe I didn't. Actually, yeah, this is where I stopped. Okay. So we're a little over halfway through the file. We're gonna go ahead and finish this. Gotta set my timer though, I forgot to do that. Let's see, so we're 4 minutes in, so we'll do 64. And we're at the main while loop here. So this is, here we go, timer's set, 64 minutes. And we made it to the main while loop. So this just is for the music. Want to add a little div right there. Alright, so now once we finish this section, so let's see here. We have if play method choice is equal to 2, database load state function must be called after setup, which it is. And then we check to see if reconnectable hard reconnectable is equal to true. We reset it back to false. Okay, and a database load state function, I guess, depends on this hard reconnectable for logic. Right? Yeah. Okay. So then we reset it. So it's gonna load everything back in at that point, and then this function gets defined. We could probably have this be defined somewhere else, because I really don't like clogging up this space. You know what I mean? I feel like this function should probably just be like created. Well, it does rely on the client, so it does need access to that. But that's the only thing that it needs. Honestly, I wouldn't mind just having it created somewhere else, and then we just pass it. We would just pass it in, you know? And then core data is dictionary. So what dictionary is this? So this is a dict2. Okay, so it just accesses the client's received data storage dict. Gotcha. And then it iterates through each dictionary, and it filters out the stuff based on a timestamp if it's been a certain amount of time. So I would say I don't know, man. Like, we do have this function here to be able to reference, to look at it real quick. So we could be a little bit more descriptive though, and then in the namespace of the function, and then we could have the function definition in a more proper location, like out of the way, and we'll just pass the client as a parameter. We'll make that be a parameter and pass it as an arg, and I feel like that would probably be the way to do it here. Because technically this would get defined again when it wouldn't really need to be defined again. Like, I don't know. I just feel like it would be better to move this, just to have the nice flow of like what's happening is progression through the client-server relationship, and not like defining functions. So yeah, we're gonna move this. So we're gonna change the name of it to be filter, and this really filters the received sent data storage dict. So we'll say filter storage dict function. I think that's descriptive enough to where I will know. Yeah, that should do the trick there. And then we're gonna pass in client as a parameter. So this note here. Let's see, what is this? So this is a note, and what I want to start doing is putting the notes on a different line. What did I just do? I just did something. I hit Control B on accident, and I don't know what that does actually. I don't know what just happened. Looks like it highlighted this down here. Anyway, so you got to be careful because any little change you make could just mess it up. So we'll just have a note. The note will be separate from the the descripting the comment that describes what the function does and stuff. So we'll put function purpose. We just put an asterisk around it to highlight that. Then we're gonna have this which says params. And then we'll do 1, 2, 3 client, and type is gonna be it's gonna be client object, and then purpose, the client object used to access associated storage sticks. And then the function purpose filters removes entries from the send receive stage or check to see if it's been 280 seconds. Since 180 seconds is max pause time. Yeah, I forgot we added the pause. We wanted to add like a pause feature. Yeah, like basically the pause feature is to allow, like if you have to go take a piss and you didn't want to miss what the other player was like did in their play. I don't know. We might not add that. We might not have that because that just, I don't know, that's kind of silly. It seems a little silly. I don't know. I don't know about that. So we'll say pause feature. Are we going to add the 180 second? Is it 180 second? Something like that. Pause feature. Not sure if we really need to, or if it would be a good feature. For if client has to use bathroom, etc., so they don't miss what other player did. I don't know. That will be debated at another time, not right now. Alright. So now we have the client parameter 7.3. So it's the same modified, just so we know that we modified it. 8.5.24, 8.6.24 rather. Client type, client object, purpose to client object used to access associated storage dictionaries. And yeah, we already read that, so that's good. And this differs from the server-side version that it removes the sent. Gotcha. I understand. I don't even have to read that. I already know what it's talking about. And I'm not going to review this function. I'm sure I've reviewed it already. That was a long time ago we created this. So we're just going to copy this now. And we're going to back it out. We're going to pass client here. Because we do have client assigned. So we just pass client right in. And this is now going to be, I guess we'll say self dot. And this is going to be, well, what do we do? Okay, because this isn't inside of, this is in if name is equal to main. This is not inside of the client class or anything, right? Yeah, this is if name is equal to main. This is not inside of the, right. Okay, so And we may want to like divide these two files. It's maybe we will, to have the class in one and then like this code in another. It's probably more like proper organizationally to have it done that way. So this is not going to be self dot. This would be client dot. And we're passing in client. Is that kind of weird? Do we not? Yeah, can't we just call... Okay, wait. We can just do it this way. We can just make it be a method. We can just make it be a class method, and then it would get passed self, right? And self is what, like we need the client object, so instead of passing in client as an arg, we could just pass in self, since it would be a client class instance. An instance method or whatever you call. So client actually doesn't have any yeah, but this should work, like, because it's gonna reference the self dot storage dict right there, and those are mutable, so they're always gonna like update and stuff. Yeah, I feel like this would work, so let's paste this in here. And of course it butchered the indents. And why is this? Okay, so now we have transfer or non-transfer time tube, def init, def filter storage digs func takes client, but we're gonna change this, right, to take in self, and then we would just do if self. Everything that refers to client here we'll just replace with self. So we can copy this and then do Control F, and then we can type client dot. Okay, yeah, I forgot we have to do it this way. So we have to highlight this, then we do Alt L. Isn't that right? And then we change this to self dot. Well, there we go. Alright, so now we're going to replace client dot with self dot. So be self dot. There we go. I think that's the way to do this. And we can just, well, this is not actually a static method because it does take in self, because we do need it to access the associated storage dictionary and stuff. So this is good, I think. Yeah, this is fine. So now it's out of the way, and well, it's just a little bit more proper. We don't want to see dirt check. And this should be not right here. This should be in a different spot. So like, let's see. This could get moved. And I think we also would want to probably move, we want to move dirt check I don't know. Dirt check could be a static function, but this definitely needs to be moved. So let's put it. Well, we want it to be associated with the data transfer, so we'd probably put it right here. Or should we put it above the main while loop? Because the main while loop is what handles the all the data exchange stuff, right? So if we put it like right here, maybe above this try, like that. This is a below section. Alright, so then we have if true, if we want to read this step by step, and this step by step needs to be updated. But we're not going to do that now. Yeah, and I think that's, let's see. Yeah, I mean, this is a decent location. Like, this is fine. This is okay. We can leave that there because, yeah, I think this is a good location for it. Yeah, that's probably the best spot for it. So we'll leave it there. All right. And this dirt check, we'll say, we'll just put a note by it. Let's see, would this be, so it takes in client ID. That's really the only thing that it does, like, need from client is the ID, and it does everything else on its own. It doesn't need any other data. Whoa, 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 no, no, no. Don't nobody want to hear that shit, bro. Get this shit out of here, dog. Damn. Alright. I don't know what these dudes are thinking when they make some of this music, bro. They just add too much. Alright. So if dirt check only needs client ID, what does it actually do? Well, it don't even, like, why do we even call it dirt check? Shouldn't we change that name? What does it actually do? It actually will apply data, right? Isn't that what it does? No. Yeah, that is what it that is what it does. Let's see. So it takes client ID, it takes the tube sender ID, references the client which sent the data point change. Dir string is a string of associated object, player game, deck, card, adder name string, the string of the attribute name being handled, the receive data, for receive only specific data which is to be applied, receive timestamp float. Okay, yeah, so this is the function that actually it applies data changes after receiving them. But doesn't it do it for send as well? Or did we change that to where it doesn't get called for send? Because this is all receive. That's all. Yeah, we don't even have a send section here. Like, this doesn't have to do with sending. Honestly, well, you know what? We can check. We can say dir check and see where it's called. So let's look in client, and we'll actually look for all instances of it. Because if we're going to change the name of it, we're going to want to. Okay, so this is when we're applying the data after receiving it. We call dir check with the appropriate args, and that's what actually. This is what actually modifies the specific data points. Like, this is the function that handles all that. We pass in like a skeleton representation of the data structure that we're going to be modifying. After we receive it from the other endpoint, and then dir check actually grabs that property, attribute, whatever, card group, and is like the final place that ends up changing the data. So the name dir check is really not descriptive anymore. It's not a good name. I know what it means, but it's not a good name, honestly. It's not reflective of what it does. We have all these change from dir check, so we would have to change a lot. So we would want to keep it short. Whatever we did change it to, we would want it to be short. And dir check is short, but it doesn't really check a directory anymore. Like, that is not what it does. What it really does is it applies the data. It applies received data. That's the only thing that it does. It doesn't do anything else. It doesn't look like it handles sending. I know it used to do that, but currently, send side begin iteration to copy calling dir check each iteration to determine if specific. See, we used to call it on the send side to determine if specific data point change should be sent or removed from the list. I don't know if we do that anymore though, because this is all for receive. Yeah. Yeah, this does not even happen for send. It doesn't do anything associated with send. Let me just quadruple check. So if Dersher is game or card, if tube sender ID. See, and that implies receiving. If header name string is card group data, receive card only runs on client side. Receive deck. This is for receive deck. This is for receive player. This is game object time clickable card associated timestamp. Yeah, this is for receive because it's checking against the receive timestamp float, and there isn't anything that has to do with send. Skeleton click card, receive game, receive player, and then this accounts for all other adder name string instances. Apply data, that implies receiving the data, and yeah. So yeah, that's what it does. It handles applying received data. So I think that's the perfect name. Apply received data. Yep, that's what we're going to change it to. It's a little bit longer, but it's just a few more characters. And that was actually a different file. That was the old version of client, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be the same. Let's just verify here. Just a super quick scroll through, and you just want to, before you make a change like that to something that's used so much and referenced so much, you really want to make sure that you get it right before you change it. Just take a couple extra minutes to re-evaluate whether or not you're doing the right thing. Yeah. Alright, so that's indeed correct. So let's go up here, and we're going to change the name of dircheck. And I'm going to put this as a to-do first, just so I know that I need, like, I'm not going to delete this until I've changed it everywhere. Change all instances of dircheck to apply received data, as the old name doesn't reflect what it actually does anymore. Maybe it did at one point, but that function has existed for like a year and a half, and it's just doesn't fit that name anymore. So let's do this, where we'll go file through file. We're going to start at the very top. We'll go through card, and we're going to do copy that. Now we're going to look for all instances of dircheck, and we're going to change it to apply received data. And we're going to replace, make sure we have no empty space at the beginning or the end, which would mess things up. Alright, so yeah, change from apply received data. And really we want to add function. So we would actually just do func, apply received data func. God damn. There we go. That's it. All right, we did it. That took a while, but it's done. So now dirt check is known as apply received data function, and the question now is, should we? Let me just verify real quick. Let's hit enter. So we don't fuck with client old or client.backup or old feature bugs. Yeah, alright, so we triple checked. Everything's been modified associated with that. So, we can close out all these other files. It's basically like spam, close all these. And then we're gonna just open up client and server. Put them back over there. It's probably quicker to do it that way. Alright, there we go. Okay, so back to dirt check here. Or not dirt check, it's now apply receive data function. So to this one, where should it be assigned? Should it, I mean, we could just passing in the self doesn't cost anything. I used to think that that was an expensive thing, but it's actually not. It just passes in a pointer, and a pointer is just like, it's basically free. It's a basically performative free operation. There's no reason to not do that. Like, if you're concerned about performance, it might actually be more performant to do that than to pass in the client ID. Now, the only reason we wouldn't want it to reference self would be if we're passing in a different client's ID. And honestly, I'm not sure. Well, the to sender ID. So we'd almost always refer to self client ID, like the current client's ID, right? I think it would. So if we look for all the places where this is called, let's Let's find that here. So it's actually only called one time. This is for receive, and we pass in the client ID. And the client ID is whoever the sender... No. The client ID is always the current client. So this is always the current client. You dig? That is always the current client. Yeah. So this client.id is always going to be the current client's ID. So it's always going to apply the data to the current client that's associated with this client thread. Am I right here? If name is equal to main. Well, not client thread, this client process, I'm sorry. So ultimately, what that means is we could make dircheck be could be a method. We could make dircheck be a method of client, and yeah, make dircheck be a method of the client class, an instance method. And what we could do is, instead of having the client ID arg, we would just parameter, we would just pass in the self ID wherever it's needed inside of the function. We wouldn't actually have to pass this in as a parameter, as an argument rather. So it's always nice to reduce. See how many args we have here? You have to scroll to read it. But if we modify it to remove this first one, that frees up all this space, and it's just more organized. It just makes more sense. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. The only reason that I wouldn't want to do that would be is if we import client, but we don't import client anywhere. Well, we do import the client object, the instance, right? We say from client import apply received data function. Okay, so we do use this server side though, so we might not want to have it be. Okay, I see what we do. So it would reference the current client here. Okay, so we may not want to have that to be yeah, because it's used for both server and client. So honestly, since it is used as like a package or whatever you want to call it, like since it's used by both server and client, that tells me that it should probably exist independently of server and client, and that way we would just import it directly to client and we would import it directly to server, so there's no confusion about what dircheck is, where it belongs. It's like very clear that it's an independent module, that just the fact that you have it as an independent module suggests that it gets imported into multiple locations. So yeah, that is one of the main purposes of having an independent module existing on its own. So we're not going to make it an attribute or a method of the client instance. Rather, we're going to have it exist as a standalone module, And a module is basically is also just a file, right? Yeah, so we have file module refers to working with files, so we'll say file versus module. File versus module. A file is just another container for data stored on a disk. It could be a text file, binary, and Python code, blah blah blah. And then a module is a file containing Python code. So a module is specifically a Py file. So it's a type of file. It is a Python file. Modules that you organize and reuse codes. There's built-in modules, third-party modules, and then user-defined modules, which is what the apply received data should be. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna put this right here, and we're gonna say turn apply received data function into own module instead of having it be defined inside of client Py and imported to server Py. Have it be its own module. This means it will be imported from itself into client Py and server Py. Alright, so let's go ahead and do that. So we will first of all, we'll go to client and we're gonna go to wherever it's defined, which is right here. We're going to copy this. So now this is going to free up this whole file. All this time that I spent scrolling past dircheck, which is no longer called dircheck, it's going to be freed up, right? So now this is gone. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a new file. We're going to paste this in here. This should be the entire dircheck. Not dircheck anymore. Gotta quit calling it that. It's now the apply received data function. The only thing is now we have to import other things to make this work into this file, which is not a big deal because the module only gets loaded once. No matter how many places you import it, it really only gets like processed one time. Every time after that, it just creates another pointer to it. So it's not actually it's not more work. And these are things that you learn over a lot of time working with Python. And it's things that you wouldn't naturally expect. You would expect this is not right anymore. So we change this to break time. And it's still bookmarked, but it's not working correctly, is it? It says that it's bookmarked, not mobile bookmarks. Bookmarks bar. There it is. Let me just move it up here. And now when we click that, okay. Alright, we're gonna take a break real quick. I gotta piss. I'll be right back. Alright, we're back. So let's save this now. And it's going to be saved as apply data function. Now we have to import, but first change this to import proper modules into it relies on other modules to work. Import them. Alright. So now let's go back over here. And let me just make sure real quick it did paste in correctly. I think it did. This below function. It's going to be our imports. How far does this go before it goes to the next line? I mean, honestly, that's wild. It just goes forever. It doesn't until you do a new line. What an idiot. What a dumbass. It's funny. We just make it long enough to go right out here. Let's divide our import. There we go. Now this is our import section. And then we need to come back to that. Now here we have to we'll say let's do it like this. Say from apply data function import apply it. Oh, and this is not right. It needs to be changed to changed to apply received data function. Apply received data function. So it should be like this. Apply received data, import apply received data function. And then we're going to do the same thing in server, right? So instead of from client import apply receive data function, we're importing from apply receive data function import apply receive data function. And a non-pressing issue we do want to do is to clean up imports. Clean up file imports. Go through each file and remove/review imports to remove unused imports. So we don't really want to import stuff if we're not using it. It's called clutter and bad code. Alright, so now in client we import that function directly, and then in server we import that function directly as well. So now here we probably need to refer to it. Okay, yeah, we didn't have to modify that. I'm tripping because we imported it the same way. Yeah, so we should be good on that front. Now we need to import the proper modules into this location so that we can have the proper access. So we need to import P1 game. From game, import P1 game, and I'm guessing we need P2 game as well. What else do we need? We also need game itself. Alright. Let's see. P1, so we need from player, import P1, P2. And what else we got here? Master deck. So we from player is not defined. Player plus ID. Where do we get player from? We say player equals. We'll come back to that. Alright, so master deck. So from deck, import master deck. We don't need yeah, well, I guess we should do it that way. We should say from deck, import master deck. Is that right? It's the deck file, and we're importing master deck. Yeah, that's right. So really we just want the deck and the discard pile. But if we imported them directly, if we did from deck import master deck, and then master deck dot discard pile, and then we modified those things, would it properly have them? We can do that, right? Say, can we do from deck import master deck dot discard pile when master deck is a class instance created inside of deck, and dot deck and dot discard pile are mutable objects adders for the deck class instance, and have them reflect modifications that are made in other files when they are handled inside of the file we are importing them to. No, you cannot do this. From deck import master deck because master deck is an instance of a class, not a module or attribute defined at the top level of the module. Python does not import syntax like that. For instance, attributes syntax won't behave you want even if you got something. What you can do, you should import the master deck instance itself, then access its attributes normally. Yeah, that's what we're doing right now. Yeah, well, you're importing a reference to the same object, and both deck are described by immutable attributes. All mutations made in one file reflect in another file as long as they're referencing master deck. This doesn't work because it's not a module or a class, it's a runtime object. The dot notation only works with the modules, submodules, classes, functions, and top level variables, not instance attributes. Okay. Yeah, so we have to do that. I was gonna see if we could just be a little bit more specific. I didn't want to import the whole master deck. So does it cost anything to import the whole instance when you only need a small part of it? No, it doesn't cost anything significant to import the whole instance, even if you only need small. It uses references. So when you do that, you're not duplicating the object in memory, you're just getting a reference to the existing object. Even if master deck contains a big list or other data, nothing is copied or recreated. Okay, gotcha, cool. That's what I was really concerned about. So it's fine to do this. So we do from deck import master deck. Alright, what else do we need? We need custom append list. Alright, so let's import that. So say from custom append list, import custom append list. Then we need the custom logger. So we'll say from import custom logger. Change attribute list. So from change attribute list, import change attribute list. Client time 2. So from clients, import client. And then we have deck. Deck is the class. Gotcha. It's the class name. So we need to do from deck import deck and master deck. Is that right? And why is this white? Change attribute list, import change attribute list. So we're actually just importing the whole file. Okay. I don't know, maybe this should be its own class. Should change attribute list be a class. So what we're actually doing is we would import the entire thing. Well, all we need actually, yeah, but we can't import it that way. If we were to import that using from change attribute list import SS or CS, it wouldn't reflect the changes made to it. We already went over this. Yeah, so if we have cal.py with global SS inside non-mutable and use from CL import SS to another file and then change val of SS in a different file from where it is imported, will it reflect change in that file? And it's no, yeah, it's not going to change. Changes to an immutable global like int string tuple will not reflect in other files that imported it using from cal import SS. So if you have cal.py with SS immutable global and you import from cal import SS, it's going to be 10, but then when you change it to 20, it's only going to be 20 there. And then in another file, you do from cal import SS, and then in another file it's still going to be 10, so it doesn't reflect. It creates a local binding to the value of SS. Yeah, so when you reassign SS, you're just creating a new local variable assigned to that value, the new one. You would have to do import the whole file. Yeah, you have to import the module and reference it like cal SS, and then if you import cal and then do cal SS, it will reflect the changes even if it's made in a different file, because it's if you access that's just the way it is in Python. So we would have to do import change attribute list, and then when we do change attribute list.ss or cs, it actually works. Yeah, there we go. So player is not defined here. So this is the string of player ID, but why does this not, like, what is this the only, where do we get player from? Hold up here. Player objects. So are we supposed to say player object? And where does player object come from? Confusing. From player import P1 and P2. First things equal to player. Then we say player object is equal to P1 or P2. And then we do player object. Oh, and then we just say player. So it should just be player object, right? Get attr string of player object.id, card group name equals, obviously it's referring to the player object, right? Yeah, because you're appending or you're modifying that player object. Yeah, so this was just a typo. It should just be, it should have player objects. Alright, I think that's right. And then we have, if instance object is equal to player, then we have player, so that should just be imported. That's the class. So we would say player, comma, import P1, P2. Yeah. Alright. Now it looks like we got it going on, dude. I think we did. Yeah. Do you need object assignment for this instance? Okay, cool. So that's done. You love me. What? No freaking way, dude. No freaking way, dude. Cha. Yeah. Alright. Well, that's done. That was easy. What do we need to do now? Okay. Now look how clean this is, man. Look at how clean. Oh, I love it. It just goes bam, bam, bam. Yeah. Is reconnected. Removing this adder altogether is determined to be useless after thorough review. Leaving until I'm 100% sure is not necessary. And this is what is reconnect. And that's the only place it exists. Yeah, we're gonna get rid of it. Cleaning that shit up, bro, so we can just, you know what I mean? This is the way it's done. This is the way you do it. Trust me. Trust me. Trust, dude. Trust. Commented this out to. Wait, what? Oh, this is old. Commented this out to debug and test game before I move further implementing the reconnect system. That was created 7-8 months ago, dog. Let's out of here. Oh my god, it feels so good getting rid of this shit, dude. It just feels great. I love it. I love it. I love it. Getting rid of that old code is just... Baby. Get rid of that shit. Now this note, you send a check on the receive side during the place. Paste that in there. I don't know why we have it like that. Does it matter? Don't know. Okay. Yeah, that's better. Beautiful, man. So beautiful. Look at this, dude. I love it. I love it. Now I'm thinking about putting client in its own file. I'm thinking about it to where this section here is in its own file like all the other ones are, and then this name is equal to main is in you know what I mean? Does that make sense to you? Yeah. Okay. It's just the way to do it, right? It needs to be done. It's just the right way to do it. This is not actually. So what would that one be called? Like it would be called. I guess we could call this client main. This one would just be called client, and then we would have client main. Yeah, I feel like that's the way to go. I believe. I do. I believe. Yeah, we're going to do it. All right, so let's add to do. Let's see. Put the above client's code inside its own, or rather move the below code into new module called client main.py, as it should be separated from the client class code. Yeah, I mean, it just, it's better. It's real simple. And do we import client? So we import the client instance. Well, no, we import, wait a second. Shouldn't we? Wait. Why do we import client? For the time tube. Okay. But the time tube doesn't change. So we don't need to do that. The time tube doesn't change. So this doesn't need to be. This should be from client import. Well, would that work? I don't think it would. We can't do from client import client.time tube. Yeah, that doesn't work. So you can't. And that's not gonna work either. That's not gonna work. Yeah, because if we did, just gonna throw an error. Cannot import time tube from partially initialized module client due to circular import. Oh yeah, we have a circular import issue. Okay, because of fucking time tube. We need. God damn it, man. Because client imports apply receive data func, and then apply receive data func imports from client, and that is. I mean, we could have the import be local, and that would fix the issue, I think. I just didn't think that would work, actually, though. Like, on a fundamental, what is this music, dude? Alright, that's enough. Get the fuck out of here, bro. Christ, man. So if we did... Where is it needed, actually? Come on, dude. Where is this? 146. Let's see, 146 here. So if we go to 145, right here. From client import time tube. Now, there's no way this is gonna work because time tube is a. Well, it's not gonna work because it's not entering into this. That's why. It's not gonna. You feel? You can't do that. Yeah. Can't import class adder from diff file via from client import time to you can't do this from dot dot import dot dot time to a class attribute. No module level time to or because time to is not top level naming client. What can you do? Import the class and access the attribute. Well, it already takes client. Hold up, doesn't it? We already well no, we just passed the client ID, but it doesn't matter. We can pass the entire client, and it doesn't cost anything. We already went through this. Right? Yeah, we don't need to passing client dot ID versus whole client instance. Passing client ID, lightweight, you only pass the ID you need, limited context. Passing the whole full access function easier to extend. Encapsulation, more memory, passing whole instance can be heavier, but it's usually negligible. Contextual behavior. But thought passing object only pass reference. So free cost. Passing object like client only pass a reference, so it's very cheap in terms of memory and performance. No copy of the whole object is made. Both color and food share the same object in memory. If food mutates the object, those changes affect the original. Means function only seems to be making it safer and clearer. If you pass object, the most cheap function can change things unintentionally. Can mutate the original, it's more flexible. So yes, passing client is used when you choose to pass just client ID from very safe. Okay, so performance-wise, it's basically the same. So since we do need the time tube as well, I don't really want to redefine the time tube in this context, you know? I don't want to I don't like doing that. I like to have things in one place. That's just the way I like it. So honestly, I would rather just pass the client. So we would just change this to be client. Yeah. But I'm gonna take a little break and I'm gonna eat, and then we're gonna do some more after. But I'll add this to things to do. So we're gonna stop here. We'll put apply received data func client ID to client source. Change this param to be client object instead, since we also need the time tube and importing client into the file causes circular import issue. Remember, it is free because passing only reference. Yeah. Ensure update comments and modify. Ensure update comments. Ensure modify associated references everywhere. Alright, and we're gonna stop right here. Shropped here. 12:48 to went to 2. Let's put 23. So that was 1 hour and 12, 23, 35 minutes. So 1.5 hours. Continue bigger view. Continue going to climb by the top of specifically, we ended up moved around functions to be better located. Filter. What's it called? Filter storage disk function. Became client instance adder or instance method. And then changed name of dir check to apply received data func. And then filter apply C data became independent module imported into client and server and we stopped here. Alright, so let's copy this. Review, game testing, debugging review, part 4, 8625, 12:48 to 2:23, it's 2:24, 1.5 hours, that's correct. And we did continue going through client pipe to review code to make improvements based on cautious comments to do, specifically change name of dir check to apply receive data function. Moved around functions to be better located. Filter storage disk function became client instance method. Apply receive data function became independent module imported into client pi. Server pi. We stopped here, which is stopped at line number 14 and things to do. CD out to the root of the project directory. We're gonna get branch, make sure we're on the right branch. We are. We're gonna get add to stage everything. Git commit -m. We're gonna commit. There goes our commit. 23 files changed, 589 insertions, 386 deletions. We created the apply data function. Oh, so we have to delete the wait, which one are we working in? So alright, that one needs to be deleted. Alright, so there we go. And then we're gonna get we'll redo that. So one file change, we deleted apply data function. So we still have apply receive data function. Yep. Okay. So now we do git push. So now we push up to the remote GitHub repository, and there we go. Now we're gonna exit out of this. We create a local backup. Projects Canasta backup gets changed the date to the 6th, which is today. We'll copy the new one. We'll go to the backup, delete the old one, paste in this new one. Now we're gonna go to text devlog all the way to the end. There we go, 8625, and that's that. Alright, dude, so we're done with this, and we're gonna take a little break, and then, yeah, pretty good progress, honestly. Like, the progress is not the type of progress that you want from a productivity standpoint, but from an organizational standpoint, I'm just the type of guy that any type of work that I do, I value like organization and thoroughness over quote unquote productivity. I just feel like the more organized you are, the more productive you will be. Versus if you just try to be quote productive, which you usually end up doing is going fast. And when you go fast, well, you just make mistakes. It's just the way it is. Or you might not make a mistake in the code. You could make a mistake by not having your code organized well enough, by not updating your comments, by, just little things. And those little things add up. And before you know it, your job site is just a wreck. You don't know where you left your tools. You know what I'm saying? You got trash covering up work that hasn't been done yet. You know what I'm saying? It just like, I feel like making it an analogy to like building a house is a good way to look at it. And I think if I wanted to build a house, I would basically like clean as I go. Not being too extra. Obviously you want balance, but emphasizing organization and cleanliness over just raw speed and productivity, right? Anyway, what we need to do is we have to get this function right. What was it we needed to do? We have to change a little modification there. It's going to take like 5 minutes. Then we're going to go back to reviewing client. We're pretty much done with that, honestly. Well, I wouldn't say we're done, but we're a good way through. We have to go from here onward, which is basically the main while loop. And we really didn't change a lot here, so we're not gonna have to modify much. Honestly, I guess we could review it. It's okay. I don't really want to. I don't wanna be dumb though. I feel like we'll just finish this single pass through. I guess it's the smart thing to do. Maybe not, but we're gonna do it anyway. So we have what, from 283 to 500. That's like 210 lines. That's not a lot. I would say that's like an hour, unless we have a refactor we encounter. So it's probably next session we'll be done with client. And it's nice and clean. It's going to be nice and beautiful. It's going to be short. Look how short it is. It's barely 500 lines now. It was like 800 or something, 900. Yeah, so it's much prettier. It's cleaner. And then we're going to do the same thing with server. We're going to go through and we're just going to run through it, give it a once over, a nice little touch up, organizing everything, making sure everything's how we want it to be. Maybe move a couple functions around, whatever, just getting it cleaned up, and then we're gonna do our testing. So I'll say this will probably take 2 sessions. This will take another session. So you're looking at about 3 more before we start spamming